Thanks for listening to Gossip with Celebrity, brought to you by Celebrity.com. This week we talk about the royals and a recent court verdict. We end with our weekly feature, The Comments of the Week. The stories, photos, and tweets we talk about can be found at Celebrity.com/podcast under episode 126. Hi, I'm Katie, the founder and editor of Celebrity.com, and I write as Celebrity.
And I'm Chandra, I'm the head writer for Celebrity, and I write as Kaiser.
So we were off last week because my son graduated from high school.
Yay.
Thank you. We're going to have episodes for the next 2 weeks, and then we'll be off for 2 weeks because we're taking off for the holiday. It's like the 4th of July holiday in the U.S. And then in July, I'm taking 2 weeks off in the middle because I'm moving. So we'll have another episode the 9th and maybe the 30th is what we plan, but...
Basically, we're on summer hours.
Yeah. But we'll have next 2 weeks we should be on. And
yeah.
It looks like the house is going to go through.
That's awesome.
Oh, it's so much that the bank wants. They're like, send me this, send me that. Okay. They're nice, though. We both have the same bank, and they're really nice. And you can do everything online now, so that's good. But I'm like afraid that they're going to look at the site and be like, no, we don't want to give you any money or something like that. But
I don't think that would happen.
No, I don't.
Even when I go get my taxes done, like I'm kind of squirrely about like the site and what exactly I do. Too. I'm just like, I'm a blogger. I get paid to write for a website.
Yeah, it's hard to describe what you do because people are like, oh, you're a writer. What do you write? I'm like, entertainment news.
Uh-huh. Yeah, but I don't know. My tax guy has like got it down to a science now. He's like, okay, we can do this, we can do that.
That's good. The reason why I didn't want to buy a new car is because I'm buying that house and they say you can't apply for new credit or you jeopardize your mortgage. So I can't. But hopefully Tuesday my car is going to go in for the air conditioning for a compressor or something. Hopefully that'll fix it. It's going to be a lot of money, but it's less money than buying a whole new car. So
yeah, I'm thinking about buying a new car though. I really am.
What are you going to get?
Realistically, I'll probably get another Nissan.
Yeah.
Like, what do I want? I want a Mini Cooper.
Oh, those are cute.
I love Mini Coopers, but they're crazy expensive.
Those
and
are really cute.
Nissans are more reliable, and I don't know.
I was looking at Hyundai Sonata hybrids. Those look kind of nice, but I have to drive it and see how they feel.
Yeah, those are little cars, and I feel like you specifically would be able to feel every bump. And
the Sonatas are little. They seem like big enough. We'll see. You're right. I do like the giant boat cars, so. But maybe mine will be fixed. So yeah, that's what I'm dealing with. I got to move and everything, and I've been cleaning stuff out. It's yay.
I've just been watching the French Open for the past 2 weeks. And exciting news, like we're recording this on Thursday, Coco Gauff is in the women's final. She's 18 years old, American girl. And I'm just so happy for her and proud of her. She had so much hype on her at such a young age. Like she was 15 years old when she beat Venus Williams at Wimbledon. And I have Dexter here who wants to contribute something to the podcast. Hold on just 1 second.
Aw. Whenever you're not paying attention to them.
All right. So Coco Gauff, she was 15 years old when she beat Venus at Wimbledon. And everyone was like, this is the next big thing. You know, she's going to win all these slams. She's going to be a teenage champion. And what happened is that she has a very good career. And it's been happening at the right pace for her. Like she's been winning matches and she's been doing really well, but she hasn't been winning slams, which is like the thing.
Okay.
But yeah, Coco Gauff, I'm really happy for her and excited for her.
So she's going to the final.
Yep, the women's final.
Do we know who's going against her yet?
Yeah, a Polish girl named Iga Świątek.
Okay.
She won the French 2 years ago, and she's very good. She's the #1 player in the world.
Okay. I've heard of her.
Yeah, I mean, chances are Iga Świątek is going to kick ass and get the title, but I think Coco will make it a real contest.
The women's happened before the men's, correct?
The women's final is on Saturday. The men's final is on Sunday. We don't know the men's finalists yet. Their semifinals are tomorrow, Friday.
Okay.
Chances are pretty good that it's going to be Rafa versus probably Casper Ruud.
I don't know anybody except Rafa Nadal, but cool. All right, let's talk about the royals.
Okay.
So when we were off last week, the Uvalde mass shooting happened, and Duchess Meghan went to the memorial and she brought food to the blood drive volunteers, which was nice of her. And she did it without anybody knowing who she was, basically. Like the head of the volunteer of that group knew who Meghan was, but the other women didn't. And they said it was like she was like a neighbor, they thought, and she was just really nice.
Yeah, and she just introduced herself as Meghan. She didn't say, I'm the Duchess, whatever. You know, it wasn't like she was a visiting dignitary. She didn't have to make arrangements on the ground for her visit. She could just fly in, go to the memorial, drop off food, and not take up any resources on the ground and not make a big deal about it. And that's exactly what she did.
And that's what you should do if you want to send your respects in the U.S. is you bring food. And that's just kind of how they do things, Harry and Meghan. They show up and figure out how to help.
Yeah, and I feel like Meghan especially, that's what she prefers to do. She prefers to just go on the ground and figure out what's going on, pay her respects in a quiet way, and, you know, just do things and not have to make a big show about it.
Yeah, which is antithetical to the royals and everything that they're doing right now.
Right.
So the Jubilee, I can't say it right. I read it as Jubilee. Like I read the word like written well, and I just still said Jubilee.
Once you start saying it, you can't stop. I'm like,
it's hard.
I feel like I want to correct people when they're like, oh, the Jubilee this. I'm like, no, it's the Jubilee.
It's like nuclear. I don't know. It's so stupid.
I'm not going to stop. I'm going to call it the Jubilee from now on.
Nuclear. So after we heard that Harry and Meghan were going to go to the Jubilee, I had to like think hard to get it out right. There was so much bullshit about whether they would overshadow the Queen, if they were going to bring Netflix with them, and if they did, they better watch out. And it was very predictable.
They were getting so unhinged about it before Meghan and Harry got there. It felt like so many British journalists or tabloid people, they were just sitting in a padded cell, banging their head against the wall, going, but Netflix, but Netflix, but Netflix, they're going to bring Netflix. It was just so out of nowhere, really. Does anyone honestly believe that Harry and Meghan were just going to turn up to the Jubilee with the Netflix crew? They're not going to do that.
No. And they are not even getting photographs. So we heard that the Sussexes arranged it with the Queen that they were going to spend Lilibet's first birthday with her privately. And that's Saturday. So we record on Thursdays. And on that day, the Cambridges are going to be in Wales because they're being sent away to do Jubilee events.
Yeah. I mean, everyone's talking about how everything about the Jubilee is so stage managed. And it is. Of course it is. Because they're moving a very elderly woman around and they have to be very specific about where and when she shows up. But they're also stage managing William and Kate and Harry and Meghan. They're also making sure that they're only seen together at like one very specific time, which is St. Paul's Cathedral. And behind the scenes, it's probably chaos, but they're being kept apart. The two couples are being kept apart. And I think that's very interesting and it's worth noting.
They are being kept apart, so there's no photo ops and there's no confrontations that can be caught.
I mean, yeah, no confrontations in public, exactly, that can be caught in public. Because they don't want a repeat of the 2020 Commonwealth service where William and Kate looked like total assholes who were going out of their way to snub Harry and Meghan.
They all did, and the Sussexes did too.
Yeah.
So the Sussexes arrived in England Wednesday night on commercial flight, and they were met at the airport by the armored SUVs from the Queen and her protection. Yeah, it's interesting how Harry got security for that right away because he arranged it with the Queen, and it wasn't like something where he was being denied security, which he's fighting for in court.
Right. And as far as I know, the judicial review is still happening. When I said, isn't it weird that the security issue was cleared up for this visit, it really is just for this visit. This is Charles and the Queen making an effort to give Harry and Meghan and the babies security just for this very specific visit. And I think it's still going to be, you know, a bunch of bullshit if Harry wants to come back or Meghan wants to come back to do some charity work or something like that.
They're going to have to arrange it all over again. Yeah,
exactly.
So for Trooping the Color, they were not on the balcony. They were at the Major General's office. I don't know what that is, but they were photographed. Like, we didn't have those pictures. They were in specific agencies. But, you know, we saw them, and Meghan looked great, and she was talking to the kids, and it just looked like they're doing fine.
Yeah, she was talking to Peter Phillips' 2 daughters, and she was talking to, I think, Mia Tyndall, who is Zara and Mike's oldest girl. Yeah, and the little girls looked like they were super happy to talk to Meghan, and they looked like they were all joking around and being real cute together. That whole area looked like a lot more fun
than the balcony.
Which, I mean, you really want to call that the future of the monarchy? A bunch of 70-year-olds, 80-year-olds, and like Will and Kate?
Right, Will and Kate, yeah. So to get to the balcony, they took a royal horse parade, and that had William, Charles, and Princess Anne in their military regalia stuff with all the ropes and everything. What is that? When they wear those outfits, they have all those hanging ropes. But they were, yeah. And the giant bear fur hats, they're made of bear?
Yeah, the guards.
The beefeaters.
Yeah, the beefeater. That's bear skin.
Okay. I know that from the gin, what they're called.
And then Princess Anne wears the military uniform of whatever, her honorary military patronage.
Rank.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
And she loves that. She always does trooping on horseback because she's such a horsewoman. And I think that one thing is very cool is that Anne is always on horseback for trooping.
She loves riding horses, yeah.
And the Queen used to do that too. The Queen used to be on horseback for trooping.
That's a little precarious for her. So she was on the balcony with the Duke of Kent, her cousin. He's like 86. I looked him up. He's a former Wimbledon patron.
Yeah, he was the patron of the All England Club. And someone commented, it was on Twitter, it was like, the Duke of Kent looks like a stiff breeze is going to take him out.
He's a very elderly man.
I'm sorry.
You snorted. I'm leaving that in.
It was just funny because he really did look like that.
He's a real old man. He's very old.
And there was a photo of Harry and Meghan talking to him too, and everyone was like, wow, William looks horrible.
That's a good one. So on the balcony, we saw the Queen, and then Anne was there with her husband, Timothy, and Charles and Camilla were there, and then Kate and their 3 children were there on the main part of the balcony. And then I saw another part, like a video of the flyover, and Sophie and Edward and their kids were on the balcony for that.
Yeah.
And the Duke of Kent and his wife.
But the Wessex kids were like really shoved off to the side. I barely saw any photos of them on the balcony.
It could be they came up later for something else.
And I mean, they barely showed Sophie and Edward on the balcony anyway, because the main thing was supposed to be seeing Will and Kate and their kids. And that's why the balcony was so edited down. Because they didn't want anyone to pull focus from the Cambridge kids. And that just kind of sucks. Like, it should just be joyful and, like, have all of the kids, all the royal kids.
Yeah.
It would have been so cool to see Peter's kids and Zara's kids and the Sussex kids. That would have been great. And it would have actually made it look like a modern royalty.
But they're not modern. And it's likely that even though, you know, Zara's husband, what's his face,
Mike
is
Tyndall.
a total asshole. Even though Mike's a douchebag of the highest order, maybe they don't want the drama that comes along with being seen at big royal events like this.
No, but they've had their kids at royal events before, and so is Peter. Like, Peter Phillips loves having his two girls on the balcony. And they're really cute little girls, too.
I remember vaguely seeing him. So Kate and Camilla and the Cambridge kids arrived by carriage.
Yeah.
They rode in the carriage together. And little Louis was wearing a sailor outfit that William wore as a child to a Troop in the Color in the 80s, which was okay. Like, my son wore an Easter sweater that my mother-in-law had knitted for him when he was 3 or so. That she had knitted, for his dad.
Oh.
So that's a thing, I think, in European countries especially, is saving clothes from when the kids were little and passing it on.
Yeah, and I mean, that's generally fine. I think if Kate had like a little minor thing about reusing William's old clothes on her children, I think that would just be cute if that was a standalone thing. But because it's Kate,
she didn't cosplay constantly.
Because it's Kate and she's got to dress up like Diana, or she's got to dress up like Meghan, or she does all these creepy homages to, Diana in a specific era. It does read as over the top and kind of creepy. But that alone, just dressing Louis up in William's old clothes, I think that's cute. It's fine.
It is cute. And you see how they would save that stuff in that kind of royal family where they would save everything and have all the space for it.
Mm-hmm. I mean, I think all the royal kids, they wear the same baptism gown. They save all of that kind of significant stuff.
Yeah, that's kind of nice too. I see how they would do that. So we talked about the royals on Zoom, and this is Karen, April, and Aida.
I love how the Queen is sending them away on Lilibet's birthday.
I thought that was hilarious. And I loved it. That's the first thing that she's done in a few years that I won't talk about her now.
I love how they're getting frustrated because the Sussexes aren't telling them shit about what their plans are, what they're going to do, and all that stuff. They're going to pull a stunt. And I'm thinking, what stunt are they going to pull? Is it going to be like during the church service, Harry's going to pull out a big old banner and say, "Down with the monarchy"? What do y'all think they're going to do?
They could do anything and they'll call it a stunt. Like, she could go to SmartWorks quietly and it's like, stunt! The Brits sound really dumb, by the way. Like, the way they talk about like Netflix cameras. It's like the way they were talking about the contracts that they were signing and how they would get to look at them. It's like, no, there's lawyers on both sides. There's nobody giving a contract to a courtier or something.
They're acting like Harry's an employee of Netflix. It's like, that's not how it works. I agree with Kaiser that they were all prepared to have a million think pieces about how dare they snub the Queen and not show up. Right. Now they're mad. And they want pictures of the kids. They're pissed off because they're probably not going to see those kids at all.
Right.
So
I don't think they're going to see those kids.
No, I don't think so either. I would be surprised if they did.
So we're recording this Friday. It's a rare day where we're recording, the day before we release, because we had the Jubilee service today.
First of all, they're calling it different things. They're calling it the National Service, the Service of Thanksgiving, the Jubilee service. I have no idea what the official name of it is. It's just a church service where the Queen is praised and someone said a prayer or something.
We were talking about the Archbishop of Canterbury. So I wonder if that was there.
The Archbishop of Canterbury has COVID, so he wasn't there.
Oh, and Andrew has COVID, and the Archbishop of Canterbury was talking up Andrew. I wonder if that's a coincidence.
I have no idea, but it was like the sub-bishop. I have no idea. I'm sorry.
It's okay. So I'm putting this after the section, after Zoom, and they were just saying the kids probably wouldn't show up. And we didn't see the Sussex kids at the service.
Yeah, I thought that it was going to go down a lot like the service of Thanksgiving for Prince Philip, like on the year anniversary of his passing. I thought that the kids would show up. All the royal kids would show up, but none of them did. The only young kids were Sophie and Edward's kids, and
they're older.
Yeah, they're older. No little kids at the service.
We finally got good pictures of Meghan and Harry.
Mm-hmm.
And Meghan looked gorgeous. She was in a Dior belted coat with like a Peter Pan collar. I did Google Peter Pan collar.
Me too. And I don't think it is a Peter Pan collar, but it's close-ish. It's a very wide collar. I was surprised by the collar of the coat, but it was
pretty.
Yeah, it had the kind of look that I know she enjoys. It felt like an elevated trench coat, and I think that's her style. And she looked rich. She looked expensive.
She always looks expensive. That's a good way to put it. So the dress looked cream in photos, but it was actually a pale lilac.
Apparently, yeah.
Yeah, and she had her hair in a low chignon. I looked up how to pronounce that. And she had like a white hat that was so pretty and white pumps.
Yeah, I think the shoes were Dior and her earrings were big diamonds, like cluster diamonds, and just gorgeous. Yeah, she just looked fabulous.
She did. And Kate looked like Kate.
She wore something new. She didn't wear a repeat.
She was in a yellow Amelia Wickstead dress with like this weird crisscross front. It's kind of like a high waistline. She looked all right. She had like a Philip Tracy hat, and it was a saucer, like kind of jaunty to the side, and there were like big flower embellishments underneath it. Kind of a cool detail.
Yeah, some people thought it was the same hat that she wore to Harry and Meghan's wedding. I don't think it was.
Ooh.
I think it was a more yellow version of that hat, a slightly bigger version of that hat. But I'm not a hat person.
Yeah.
I can't always see the differences in hats like I can with, say, a coat or, you know, that kind of thing.
Yeah.
So
I don't really even pay attention to hats.
Well, and what kills me is that Kate actually does have a face for hats. She can really pull them off.
I don't know if that's shade or not.
No, I didn't mean it as shady. I meant it as a compliment. Some women can really pull off hats and some women can't. And Kate can. Yeah. I just think that she doesn't have the best taste in hats.
It's like her fashion taste in general.
Yeah.
It's true. And so Zara Tindall, she was in like a fuchsia dress with puffs, 3/4 length sleeves, rounded collar, and pleats on the front.
It was horrible.
What was it?
And it was
she
so
wore a
bright.
purple hat with it, and the hat shade didn't even. It was bad.
And like, I feel bad for her. She's had several difficult pregnancies, and she's an athlete, like a world-class Olympian athlete.
Yeah.
Like, she shouldn't have to participate in like, the Kate standards of beauty, like being rich and thin and fitting into all coat dresses and all that kind of shit. Like, Zara should just opt out of that completely. It's painful when she has to dress up for these kinds of events because she should just wear really cute separates.
Yeah, or plain, more modern looking clothes.
Exactly.
That would look fine on
her.
her.
Cleaner lines would help her a great deal.
And Eugenie and Beatrice,
they looked horrible too.
Dippy too. They looked bad. Eugenie had on like an orange short sleeve dress. Beatrice was in this pleated blue dress with puff sleeves and little white buttons. It looked like Kate's style.
Exactly. And Beatrice has been doing this a few times now. She's been wearing very Kate-centric looks. I don't know if she's trying to like cozy up to Kate or I don't know.
Maybe Kate rubbed off on her.
Eugenie, like, why would you wear orange? Oh.
So the photos from the church, and several outlets picked this up, including like the Daily Mail and People, which are usually really royal friendly, said that the body language between the Cambridges and the Sussexes was tense, and that the Cambridges didn't look at the Sussexes. You put a little video in the post where Kate is like side-eyeing them.
You can't really tell where she's looking, but it definitely looks like she gives a good look over to where the Sussexes were sitting. And she says something, and it looked like William just almost shook his head a little bit.
Yeah, it didn't look friendly.
No.
Is whatever she said. So we talked about this when we were recording earlier. You said this, that everything is stage managed, and that's exactly what they did.
Yeah.
So that the Sussexes and the Cambridges didn't have to be pictured in the same frame.
The same frame. They managed everything down so that they would not enter anywhere near the same time or leave at the same time. And that takes some doing to not leave at all. And like, Harry and Meghan could not dawdle on the steps, and neither could Will and Kate.
Yeah.
They had specific times where they had to leave, and no one wanted photos of all 4 of them together.
And Will and Kate couldn't even manage to try to look happy.
Well, they never can.
No, especially when they're together. So just an hour ago, you didn't publish this on the site yet, but the Daily Mirror reported that the Sussexes saw Camilla and Charles at Clarence's house before the service.
The Daily Mirror just put this story up right before we were recording. Apparently, Harry and Meghan came to church from Clarence's house. Like, so they left Windsor, went to Clarence's house and saw Charles and Camilla, and then went to church. So I think that's interesting, especially because as much as William and Kate ignored Harry and Meghan, so did Charles and Camilla at church. But it makes more sense if Charles and Camilla ignored them because they had just seen them. So they already had some time in with them.
Maybe that was a strategic move as well, where everyone's kind of looking separate. So it didn't look like anybody specifically snubbed the Sussexes.
Yeah, and it was only Charles, Camilla, William, and Kate snubbing the Sussexes. Everyone else in the family was nice to them. You know, Prince Edward said hello to them and looked quite happy to see them, even though he's probably a douchebag. But, you know, and the York princesses were really happy to see them, of course. And I guess Jack, Brooksbank, and Harry get along famously.
Oh, they were sitting with Eugenie and Beatrice.
Yep. Oh, and the Queen isn't going to tomorrow's horse race, Saturday's horse race. She's too tired to go to that. So I kind of think that on June 4th, which is Lily's birthday, I do think that Harry and Meghan and the kids are probably going to go over to Windsor Castle and spend some time with the Queen.
And we're putting this out in the morning on June 4th, so maybe we'll know a little bit after it's released. All right. Hi, I'm recording this later. Now back to my talk with Chandra from Thursday.
And I also think it's more than possible that for the Queen's Jubilee, the Sussexes will do something very generous, which is allow Buckingham Palace to release a photo of her with Archie and Lily.
Oh.
Yeah, the only thing about like releasing a photo, like a private photo of the Queen and Archie and Lily, is that the Sussexes wouldn't really be able to do it themselves. Like they could do it through one of their charities, but you know, it's not like they can throw it up on social media. So that's why I think that they would allow Buckingham Palace to do it.
To take one photo and release that. That's a smart thing. And they've been really guarded about their children's identities. We have not seen Lily except in their Christmas photo. But they've also been really guarded about not being photographed themselves doing things. Yeah. We've barely seen them so far during this visit. And it was the same, like when they went to The Hague, we only saw them in The Hague. We didn't see them on their stop in London.
Yeah, we didn't see them at all in London or Windsor.
They're good at being stealthy when they want to be.
Yeah, they are. Which, again, shows you who was doing the leaking about their movements and that kind of stuff.
Yep. Somebody who wasn't leaking because they're on vacation. We don't have this on our notes, but we haven't talked about Omid Scobie, man. He's going ham, which I like, in his new Yahoo column.
Well, he's not. He's just doing kind of
for him
unbiased, unbiased analysis of royal stuff. And like it's the kind of stuff that a lot of bloggers talk about, but it's interesting to see a royal reporter talk about.
He's been more reserved about it, and now he's like, yeah, her father's trash. She shouldn't talk to him. She doesn't owe him anything. Yeah.
But it's great to hear that from someone British and a royal reporter, because literally every other royal reporter is like, oh my God, Thomas Markle's the best. Meghan should totally visit him. And it's just disgusting.
Trash.
The white Markles are disgusting.
Speaking of disgusting people, so this isn't in the podcast notes, and I didn't do that because if I write anything that has Johnny Depp or Amber Heard in it, it'll get downvoted and trolled, and people will send us hate mail. But the verdict came in this week for that, and it was a real disappointment. So both of them were found guilty of defamation, but Amber Heard more so than Johnny, for saying that she was an abuse victim without even naming him in her op-ed for the Washington Post. So we haven't been covering this, though. You only covered the verdict because there's a whole bot army that's been attacking us for years for daring to question their drunken piece of shit, abusive idol, Johnny Depp.
Yeah, and it truly has been going on for years.
Oh, yeah.
So much so that we barely even covered the libel case in England because we didn't want to deal with the bot army.
They really are bots. I mean, I ran the IP addresses. Most of them are from overseas. They have very clear patterns. It's always new commenters. And it's despicable. And you can see... Sorry, go ahead. I'm just going to go off.
No, yeah, you can see it. And what's weird is that... Well, not weird. I mean, it's totally normal. That they've been doing it even though we haven't been covering it. They've been appearing in random threads, comment threads, and on links posts saying, like, why aren't you guys covering this? You're such an asshole because you believe Amber. So we've been dealing with that for weeks, and we haven't even written about it.
Yeah. No, it doesn't matter what we write about. It must be worse for other sites. And they even tried to do, like, a little ninja stuff on us by pretending to be Amber fans and then, like, emailing and contacting us personally. And a few different people tried to do this.
All right, so one of Amber's friends did contact me on Twitter, and she offered me, like, if I wanted quotes or something like that. And I told her, like, flat out, we're not going to cover this in real time. We're not going to cover the daily ins and outs of the case. And because she contacted me on Twitter, the bot army found me and her, and they were on that thread, and it was awful. And I ended up muting a lot of people and deleting a lot of tweets. That's just, like, for my own time. I don't have time to deal with all of this bullshit. I feel really sorry for Amber because I'm getting such a small fraction of what she gets every day from this piece of shit, vile abuser and his paid army.
It's really despicable. I feel especially bad for women who either were in that situation, who are in that situation now, and this sets a terrible legal precedent.
It does. And I don't even think, as much as they want to claim it is, I don't even think it's about Amber specifically. It's just ridiculously easy for so many men and women to just say, the bitch is lying. She's lying about everything.
She's lying. She's crazy. Yeah. It's all the tropes you hear about abused women.
Yeah. Amber specifically is unlikable. Amber specifically is like, no, you just think all women are lying.
Yeah.
And they're going to keep doing this to celebrity women who have talked about being abused, who have talked about being raped, who have talked about being sexually harassed. They're going to run this play on Evan Rachel Wood. I believe that they're going to run this play on Angelina Jolie as well.
This is a victory for the incels and the Republicans.
Yep.
Which are the same thing. So we talked about this on Zoom, and this is Karen, Amira, Michelle, and Courtney.
I mean, any excuse to not hold men accountable. And also, the system is patriarchal. The legal system was never set up to protect women and minorities to begin with. So I can't necessarily say I was surprised that he won.
I wasn't surprised. I had a feeling that he was going to win. I had a feeling he was going to win, mainly because the way the judge handled this case has been an utter shit show. It should never have been allowed to be televised. That's utterly ridiculous. And then the fact that you have it televised and then you don't sequester your jury. They had access to all the same social media that we did the entirety of the trial. How do you expect people to come to any sort of, unbiased opinion on something if they're being bombarded like we've been bombarded, to the point where I'm on Twitter and I'm constantly saying not interested in this on the trending topics, and Twitter's going, oh, no, but we want you to be. I had to go through and basically scrub my YouTube because it was suggesting so much anti-Amber Heard content to me. TikTok, I feel like a lot of creators were being paid to push certain narratives because the amount of content that there was, it didn't make any sense to me. You have to have been given some sort of financing for that.
I don't see anyone really feeling good about this except for like fucking incels.
Mm-hmm.
But I really do think he thinks he's just going to go back to normal as if nothing has happened. His career was already on the downslide anyway, and a lot of studios were not interested in hiring him because of insurance and liability issues with him. I don't think he will ever reclaim whatever box office glory he had before all this. Because, I mean, his films were bombing way before this. There were stories about him having to have an earpiece in and having lines read to him. Just all the abusive behavior that you heard about on The Fantastic Beasts.
I mean, I've been thinking for decades now that he's a one-trick pony. I feel like he just plays the same character no matter what the role is. I just think Hollywood will be more forgiving of him than her, and it sucks.
Yeah, I definitely think he's been playing the same character. Like the Tonto role just like really nailed that coffin. It's like the only thing he does is his Mad Hatter, Edward Scissorhands shtick, and like that's the only character he plays now.
He's a piece of shit alcoholic abuser. There's nothing else to say, and he's not that great of an actor. I mean, I don't think Amber is a great actress either, but she didn't deserve this.
No, she didn't.
And like Amira was saying, you can just see by the number of hateful YouTube videos that you get recommended how much money went into this campaign against Amber.
Yeah, how organized it was.
Yeah. I mean, it's obvious to us because we run a site and we saw when the comments started coming in a few years ago.
It's gotten a lot slicker over the past few years. It has, because it used to be more disorganized, but you can really see how they've perfected a campaign. And it is like the Republicans. It is like
that contingent, yeah.
What happened in 2016 with the election. Like, that's exactly what happened here. There was a psychological warfare operation.
Yeah, it was a campaign against her. And you get enough bots that you can convince some people, and then, you know, some of it's real people and a lot of it's bots and a lot of it's influencing opinion. And it scares me how many people have died because of that, because of COVID and the disinformation campaign that was run around that. Legislation needs to catch up with technology. Technology needs to be regulated better because these algorithms they're changing entire generations of people.
Yeah, I agree. I also think that I am big on personal responsibility. I'd like to see all of those fucked up TikTokers destroyed. I'd like to see their livelihoods destroyed, all the Depp TikTokers.
People did it for money, but they also did it because you can make money off of it. So some were paid and some did it because there's more money in it. I'm sure at some level, if we covered that more, we would get more hits and more revenue. But why the fuck would you do that? Like,
Yeah, and so many people are just permanently shitlisted because of the waves and after effects of this Depp situation.
Oh, you mean like bloggers you read?
Well, I'm thinking like more celebrities and Saturday Night Live writers.
Oh, the way they handled it. Yeah.
There are a lot of people who utterly mishandled it, who fucked up utterly, and they'll never admit it, and they'll just keep on going on their way saying like, oh yeah, Team Depp, he was right all along.
I hope she can have it overturned. And just the way he treated her by bringing her to court is more evidence of his abuse.
Exactly. Everything about his actions after their divorce has been abusive. It's been evidence of the abusive nature of their marriage. He's been financially abusing her. He has been abusing her, taking away her time, taking away her professional career.
Yeah.
And making her relive the abuse over and over and over again.
The fact that this was televised.
Yep.
Ugh.
And it was televised because he wanted it to be, because he wanted to publicly humiliate her. He wanted to run this operation against her.
And he did it.
Yep.
All right, let's move on to the comments of the week. So my comment of the week is on Hecate's post about Jana Kramer. And she's the podcaster who's made like a cottage industry out of the fact that she was cheated on by her ex-husband. But she and her latest boyfriend split, and he's been spilling a lot of tea about her. And she had an affair with her married Dancing with the Stars partner. So the comment of the week is by Crowhood. And she said, "Girl, wash your face," or whatever. So as background, Girl Wash Your Face is that self-help book by Rachel Hollis, who's a totally different woman, but she's pretty much interchangeable with Jana Kramer. And she's the influencer who ruined her own career by comparing herself to like Harriet Tubman and a bunch of other great historical women. after she was criticized because she talks smack about her maid. Like, they're very much the same type of influencer person.
Well, I didn't actually understand all that backstory, but that's funny. It is funny.
Yeah, yeah.
All right. As I was writing this story, first let me say this. Can you believe that it's 2022 and there's still an Archbishop of Canterbury? Like, isn't that kind of crazy when you really think about it? There's still an Archbishop of Canterbury.
Can you explain? Okay, so just like I explained the Rachel Hollis thing, could you explain this to me about the Archbishop of Canterbury?
So he's the guy of the Church of England. He's not like the Pope of the Church of England, because the Queen is officially the head of the Church of England. And so the Archbishop of Canterbury is like the subhead or whatever. You know, he's like the guy who runs the church on a daily basis. Okay,
so they still have like the whole churchy structure thing.
Yeah.
Okay, all right, that's what you meant. Okay, now I get it.
All right, so, I mean, he's the guy for the Church of England. He is very important. And he was giving an interview which was supposed to be about the Jubilee and the Queen's reign and how important and significant it all was, and how the Queen is a humble servant of God, blah, blah, blah. Who cares? The most important part about it was that he was asked directly about Prince Andrew. And the Archbishop of Canterbury made this really offensive statement about how Andrew has been making amends or seeking to make amends. He went on and about forgiveness and how everyone should be forgiven if they are seeking to make amends. And it didn't have anything to do with what Andrew has actually been doing. Andrew has not tried to make amends.
It's ridiculous.
Andrew is still refusing to admit that he did anything wrong. All right, so I thought this was a very good comment. Amy B. wrote, as I was saying, the British establishment doesn't see what Andrew did as a crime or taboo. That's the root of it.
Okay.
Andrew, a lot of these people want Andrew to come back because they don't think that human trafficking is wrong. And they don't think that rape is wrong.
It goes kind of back to our last discussion.
Yeah.
And it's like the Kavanaugh hearings, which were really hard to take because it was the realization that a lot of people don't think it was wrong. They're like, oh yeah, they did that, but it's not wrong.
Yeah.
And I'm sure there's people who are like, oh, Johnny abused Amber, but, you know, she was mouthy.
Yeah, exactly. Or, yeah, he abused her, but she fought back, so it's equal. No, that's not the way any of this works.
No, it's not. Yeah. All right, well, we should have ended with mine because it was funny.
I don't have anything funny to say, although I'm just excited to see more of Harry and Meghan. I hope we do get to see more of them.
Yeah, that would be nice. They always live in their best life, and I see them, and I'm like, oh, look how in love they are, you know?
And it's just, yeah, all of the stage managing, and it'll be interesting to see it play out over the next few days.
It will be. All right. Well, thanks for listening, bitches.
Thanks, bitches.
Thank you for listening to the Celebrity Podcast. Please rate, review, and subscribe wherever you listen. If you like us, please turn off your ad blocker when you visit our site. You can text us or leave a voicemail at 434-218-3219. Our music is from AA Alto, Maiden, and via Premium Beat and Sound of Picture. Thanks again.